This Nike billboard honors the all-time NCAA Division I scoring leader.
I love that.
Nike has finally reached out to Caitlin Clark with a substantial apology, signaling a strategic move that goes far beyond merely adding a banner or placing a prominent advertisement in an arena. For months, fans have been left wondering why Nike, the world's leading sports brand, remained silent about its most promising young star. Their prolonged silence was nothing short of deafening. With Adidas now stepping in with a lucrative offer, Nike appears to be urgently addressing the situation to secure Clark's allegiance. The pressing question is whether Nike's apology is heartfelt or simply a reactive measure to prevent losing Clark to a competitor. This unfolding drama not only highlights the fierce competition within the sports apparel industry, but also sets the stage for Clark's potential dominance in the WNBA.
Nike struck absolute gold when they signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal. So why in the world?
Caitlin Clark, women's basketball's breakout star, had an extraordinary season. She propelled her team to new heights, shattered multiple records, and captivated audiences with her electrifying play style, establishing herself not just as a player, but as a true game changer. With Nike securing her with a substantial contract, expectations soared that her first playoff game would become the most watched WNBA playoff event since 2000, potentially drawing 1.84 million viewers. However, reality fell short of these lofty expectations.
And with that, Nike has not done one thing to promote her. We have not seen any commercials, we have not seen any ads, we have not seen any Caitlin Clark merchandise, and we for sure as hell have not seen any Caitlin Clark.
For months, Nike did little to promote Caitlin Clark. There were no major shoe releases, campaigns, or significant advertisements, leaving fans puzzled by the brand's silence. This was starkly different from Nike's robust support when LeBron James entered the NBA, complete with signature shoes and nationwide billboards. Meanwhile, Adidas seized the opportunity. Rumors emerged that Adidas was ready to offer Clark a $30 million deal, positioning her as the face of women's basketball, much like LeBron for men's. Adidas wasn't willing to let Nike's oversight continue without capitalizing on Clark's rising prominence. So, what happened next? After months of neglect, Nike finally acted by displaying a massive banner of Clark at the Indiana Fever Arena. This grand gesture seemed less like a celebration and more like damage control to prevent her from moving to Adidas. Fans doubted its sincerity, viewing it as a reactive measure rather than genuine support. Nike had ample time to promote Clark, but waited until Adidas showed interest, appearing to panic at the threat of losing her. Clark didn't passively accept Nike's sudden attention. She attended Nike's event and delivered a powerful speech about the future of women's basketball, emphasizing the sport's growth, increasing viewership, and the importance of national television coverage. Her upcoming signature shoe, modeled after Kobe Bryant's legendary line, signifies more than personal achievement. It represents Nike's attempt to finally invest in women's basketball. However, the delay has left fans skeptical about Nike's true intentions. Nike has a history of prioritizing male athletes over female counterparts, evident in their treatment of LeBron James and Kevin Durant compared to Serena Williams or Diana Taurasi. If Clark were a man, Nike would have undoubtedly invested in her from the start. This disparity suggests Nike was more concerned about losing a lucrative partnership than genuinely supporting her. Although Nike's recent actions are a step forward, they seem too little, too late. Adidas has already established itself as a brand that truly supports women's sports, making a substantial investment in Clark. The battle now hinges on whether Nike can regain Clark's trust or if Adidas will secure her allegiance permanently. Let's not forget other major brands like Under Armour and Puma are after her as well. Some fans would also love to see Clark release her own sporting goods brands. Clark is not just a phenomenal player, but a trailblazer advocating for the growth of women's basketball. Her influence extends beyond the court, inspiring young girls and pushing for greater investment and recognition of the sport. Signature shoes symbolize an athlete's star power and the brand's commitment. LeBron James's signature shoe marked Nike's full investment in him, and Clark's shoe has the potential to do the same for women's basketball. However, Nike's delay has allowed Adidas to gain an advantage, positioning themselves as the true supporters of the sport. This conflict between Nike and Adidas highlights a broader shift in the sportswear industry's approach to women's sports. Historically overlooked, women's basketball is now recognized as a significant and profitable market, thanks to athletes like Clark. Whether Nike's apology is sincere or merely strategic, it indicates a changing landscape where supporting female athletes is becoming essential. Caitlin Clark is more than a basketball player. She is reshaping the game both on and off the court. Her decision to stay with Nike or move to Adidas will have profound implications for the future of women's sports. Brands are finally recognizing her immense value, and their support will influence the trajectory of women's basketball. The offseason at the Indiana Fever is on fire. Rumors about NaLyssa Smith are swirling, and tensions between her and Caitlin Clark are reaching a boiling point. Let's dive into the drama and uncover what's really going on once and for all. The Indiana Fever have had an amazing season with remarkable highs and challenging lows, but nothing could have prepared them for the shock caused by NaLyssa Smith's actions, which many see as an unexpected betrayal. Smith's recent behavior has created friction within the team and has fans questioning the future of the Indiana Fever. We'll explore the controversy, fan and teammate reactions, and the potential consequences for both Smith and the Fever. It all started with a tweet. NaLyssa Smith posted a photo of herself in a purple car with the caption, "Purple looks good on us." This innocent post caught the attention of Paige Buchers, a standout college basketball player, who responded with fire emojis. Smith's reply, "You just gotta let him be delusional," sparked rumors about her future with the Fever. The timing was bad, as the Fever were celebrating Caitlin Clark's record-breaking 35-point game, securing the 6th playoff seed after an impressive 18-10 run following a poor 2-9 start. Instead of focusing on their resurgence, Smith's tweet brought attention to internal conflicts. Sources say Caitlin Clark confronted Smith about the tweet, questioning her commitment and highlighting Smith's dissatisfaction with her role and playing time. During the regular season finale against the Dallas Wings, Smith started the game, scored 8 points, and grabbed 6 rebounds in 19 minutes before being benched for the second half. Frustrated, she posted, "Fun while it lasted, babe," in response to her girlfriend's supportive message, hinting at tensions with teammates and coaching staff. The public reaction was swift and harsh. Fans flooded social media with calls for Smith's removal, using hashtags like #TeamCaitlin and #TeamNaLyssa. Many felt betrayed by her perceived lack of loyalty, especially given her strong performances and high expectations. Sports analysts debated whether Smith's actions were due to deeper team issues or mere miscommunication. Some defended her frustrations over reduced playing time, while others criticized her professionalism and its impact on team morale. Head coach Christy Sides is in a tough spot, trying to maintain team unity while addressing the backlash. She issued a statement about handling matters privately, but insiders say she's deeply concerned about the situation's impact on the playoffs. Several options are being considered: team meeting and reconciliation, addressing issues directly to encourage open communication, disciplinary action, ranging from fines to temporary suspension to reinforce team cohesion, trade speculations, exploring trade options, though Smith is under contract until 2026. Public apology. Smith could apologize publicly to mend relationships and quell fan outrage. Meanwhile, NaLyssa Smith remains active on social media. Fans are questioning her commitment to the game as she continues to clash out with her star teammate Clark. People are wondering, is this all because of jealousy due to Caitlin stealing the spotlight? Smith's on-court performance has declined in the last season, averaging 10.5 points and 7.2 rebounds per game, down from last year's 15.5 points and 9.2 rebounds. Her playing time has also decreased from 30.7 minutes in 2022 to 25 minutes now. The Fever exercised their fourth-year option on her contract, securing her through 2025 with a salary increase next year. While her financial future with the team is secure, her role and satisfaction remain uncertain, as it's very likely we will not see her return after this upcoming season. Whether this incident becomes a catalyst for growth or a source of division depends on how the Fever, especially Smith and Clark, choose to move forward. This controversy also highlights the broader impact of social media on professional sports, reminding athletes to balance personal expression with professional responsibilities.
First person I can honestly say that looks like Steph Curry. Like, she's not guardable right now, and she can hit almost any shot from the outside.
Almost any.
How much of a power she is out there on the court. The cool part is the way that she plays and her range and the level of difficulty on her shots is obviously a very close comparison.
From long-range shots to lasting influence, Caitlin Clark isn't just setting records, she's shattering them. Surpassing even Steph Curry's iconic three-point average, she's reshaping the future of basketball. But what happens when Caitlin Clark crosses paths with Steph Curry's legacy?
Do you think Caitlin Clark could beat Steph Curry in a three-point contest?
That's tough. Shooters can have an off night. You just never know. Caitlin has no conscience where she pulls from.
Steph has no conscience where he pulls from.
Been doing it for a long time, so can never go against Steph. Steph has been doing it for a long time.
Recently, Caitlin Clark has solidified her place in basketball history, and it's not just because of her scoring ability, it's where she scores from. New stats show that Caitlin Clark now holds the record for the longest average three-point range, an incredible 28 feet.
I think the WNBA narrative right now is Caitlin Clark, and I think that's a good narrative, but it's also not the only narrative. Caitlin is an amazing generational talent, and she's going to do amazing things. You're the #1 pick. People are going to go after.
This remarkable accomplishment not only surpasses the previous record held by NBA legend Steph Curry, but it also sets a new, higher standard for shooting excellence in basketball. By pushing the boundaries of what was once thought possible, Caitlin Clark has redefined the range at which players can score, inspiring future generations to aim even further.
Do I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark?
I think I'll just be the female version of Steph.
At just 22 years old, Clark's achievement is far more than a statistical outlier. It's a reflection of her unmatched skill, court awareness, and unshakable confidence. As the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, regardless of gender, she has already left an indelible mark on the game. With her new record-breaking 28-foot average, Caitlin Clark has not just added a new statistic to her resume, she's fundamentally redefined what it means to be a sharpshooter in the modern era. To put her accomplishment into perspective, Steph Curry, widely considered the greatest shooter in basketball history, boasts a three-point range averaging around 27 feet. At the time, that seemed untouchable. Curry's range revolutionized the game, sparking an era of deep shooting and permanently changing the way basketball is played. But now, Caitlin Clark has pushed that boundary even further, raising the bar to new heights.
I love me some Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in the history of basketball.
However, Clark has taken that revolution even further, stretching the boundaries of possibility with an additional foot of range that makes her a constant threat the moment she crosses half court. This is no accident. Clark's shooting range is the result of years of dedicated training, an innate basketball IQ, and an unwavering competitive spirit. Her shooting form is a perfect balance of precision and power, enabling her to effortlessly launch shots from well beyond the arc. But what truly sets her apart is her fearlessness. Clark isn't afraid to take shots from distances most players wouldn't even think about. Whether it's a contested three in the final seconds of a game or a casual pull-up from 30 feet on the fast break, she makes what seems impossible look completely effortless.
Shout out to Caitlin Clark. She's a certified bucket. To quote Shaq, I was not familiar with her game. I respect her game. She's a fucking baller. She was pulling up like Steph Curry from deep. But I just got one question. Matt, do you think you can beat Caitlin Clark in one-on-one?
Absolutely not. Nobody here can.
I'm busting her ass. You wild. Shit. You wild, bro.
This record also speaks volumes about the evolution of women's basketball. Clark's success stands as a powerful testament to how the game has progressed, with athletes consistently pushing the limits of what's possible on the court. Her remarkable shooting range has drawn comparisons to Curry, but it has also established her as a trailblazer in her own right, showing that women's basketball is just as dynamic, innovative, and game-changing as the men's game.
I think Steph Curry made the WNBA watchable.
Caitlin Clark, baby.
The way that Caitlin Clark was playing was a very digestible form of basketball. But now this girl out of nowhere is playing like Steph, and it was still digestible.
Meanwhile, Clark has reached this milestone in an era where defenders are more focused than ever on limiting long-range threats. Opponents specifically game plan to neutralize her, yet she continues to excel, constantly finding ways to create space and sink one clutch shot after another from deep. Her 28-foot average isn't just a number, it's a declaration of dominance. As Caitlin Clark keeps breaking records and exceeding expectations, the basketball world is left to wonder just how much further she can push the boundaries of shooting.
Is there anybody in the NBA under the age of 30 that's a bigger name, bigger jaw, bigger star than Caitlin Clark?
For now, one thing is clear. Clark has not only surpassed Steph Curry's legendary mark, but has firmly established herself as one of the most transformative figures in basketball. Her 28-foot average three-point range is more than just a record, it's the foundation of a legacy in the making. Caitlin Clark isn't just redefining the game of basketball, she's reshaping its entire business model. The sharpshooting sensation, already celebrated for her historic three-point average that outpaces even Curry, is demonstrating that her influence extends far beyond the court.
I mean, honestly, $1,000 for a family of four to go to a WNBA game. That seems wild. It really does. The Clark effect.
Clark now represents an incredible 1/4 of all WNBA merchandise and ticket sales. This remarkable achievement highlights her power to attract fans, drive revenue, and become a true game changer for women's sports. Moreover, in a league that has long battled for visibility and equality, Clark has sparked an unprecedented wave of fan engagement. From jerseys bearing her name to arenas packed with fans chanting in her honor, Clark is more than just a player, she's become a movement.
Caitlin Clark, her style of play it's not just her individually as a person or what skin color she is. I think it's, more so about her style of play, her playing.
According to reports, her merchandise sales alone make up nearly 25% of the WNBA's total revenue in this category, an extraordinary figure that speaks to her unmatched popularity. Whether it's fans buying her iconic number 22 jersey or scooping up exclusive Caitlin Clark-themed collectibles, her appeal is undeniable. The same goes for ticket sales. Clark's games are an event, consistently attracting record-breaking crowds. Did you catch the latest? Ben Shapiro just took down Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson over her ridiculous comments about Caitlin Clark.
So one of the bizarre controversies of the last week is Caitlin Clark, who is the WNBA's only nameable star. Here, for example, is WNBA team owner Sheila Johnson. Here she is, ripping Caitlin Clark and the fan base for liking Caitlin Clark, saying it's only because Caitlin Clark is white.
In what might as well be an Olympic gold medal for bad takes, Sheila's claiming that Clark didn't deserve Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year title, basically suggesting that everyone in the WNBA should be recognized, except for Caitlin Clark.
Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing.
You heard that right. This is the ultimate everybody gets a trophy mentality, but cranked up to the max. Shapiro wasted no time shredding Johnson's argument, using his signature rapid-fire style to highlight just how ridiculous her position really is.
You're not putting the entire WNBA on the cover because not everybody can fit and nobody knows who any of those people are. By the way, 31% apparently of the entire Washington Mystics ticket sales this year came in 2 games. I will give you a guess as to which player was featured in those 2 games.
Exactly. Not everyone can fit inside the spotlight, and definitely not the entire WNBA. As for this talk of upliftment, let's not forget that 31% of the Washington Mystics' annual revenue has come from games featuring Caitlin Clark and her team. Are we seriously supposed to pretend Caitlin Clark isn't single-handedly bringing fresh energy to a league that's been struggling to stay relevant?
Look, I'm going to be completely honest about this. I thought what Wizards owner Sheila Johnson said about Caitlin Clark came off as racist. Sheila Johnson is the black billionaire owner of the NHL's Washington Capitals, the NBA's Washington Wizards, and the WNBA's Washington Mystics. Johnson said she did not agree with Time Magazine making Caitlin Clark the first ever WNBA player to be Athlete of the Year.
Sheila's claim that Caitlin Clark's success somehow undermines the rest of the league definitely carries a whiff of something darker. It's hard to ignore how that perspective reeks of racism, whether she intended it or not.
And with putting Caitlin Clark on the cover. Johnson said the entire WNBA should have been chosen as the League of the Year and that numerous stars should have been put on the cover. She said the WNBA has a long legacy of black stars and that, and I quote, something clicked with the WNBA last year because of the draft. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's Reese, as in, of course, Chicago's Angel Reese.
Seriously? Angel Reese doesn't even come close to Caitlin Clark, both in skill and popularity. So why is Sheila so eager to downplay Clark's accomplishments? It's almost like she's trying to diminish something that clearly stands out on its own.
Johnson said, and I quote, there's so much talent out there that's unrecognized, and I don't think we can pin it on just one player. When you single out one, it creates hard feelings, end of quote. Johnson said, what's been happening to black players on social media, and I quote, has got to stop, in that, and I quote again, this division of racism is going to tear us apart, end quote.
Exactly. Are we seriously going to stop celebrating a player just because others are feeling threatened or jealous? That doesn't sit right, does it? This is straight up unfair treatment. Sheila should be recognizing greatness, not trying to undermine it.
Johnson is saying to me, the majority of WNBA players are black and have always been black, that basketball belongs more to black players than to white, and that it's not healthy for the league to have a white player featured as Athlete of the Year on the cover of Time. Now, I'm pretty sure if WNBA MVP Asia Wilson had made the cover of Time as Athlete of the Year, Johnson wouldn't have had any problem with that. Just not the white girl.
Absolutely. What Sheila's implying is that we should start picking and choosing who gets praise based on the color of their skin, rather than their talent or achievements. It's absurd on so many levels. And frankly, it's a huge disservice to the game and the players who deserve recognition.
But this person put this on as a quote to this video. Sheila Johnson's worth $850 million, and she doesn't put a penny back into the neighborhood she comes from. Very interesting. She doesn't even come back to her high school to show little black girls that they can become her. My little cousins go to the same high school. They don't even know she exists. Very interesting indeed.
Did you catch that? It turns out Sheila might be guilty of the very thing she's accusing Caitlin Clark of. That's right. She supposedly doesn't do charity or encourage the black kids in her community to become billionaires like herself. Talk about hypocrisy at its finest, folks.
Well, the league has always been woke, has always had an agenda. The league and the sports media, the establishment sports media that is, and their surrogates. Always. And they pride themselves on that.
It's become pretty clear that the WNBA has a lot of politics playing out behind the scenes. Could this be what's been holding the league back all these years? It's hard not to wonder if these power struggles and biases are part of the reason the league hasn't reached the level of recognition and success it deserves.
But since Caitlin Clark stepped into the waters with the Time magazine interview, it's almost like you're gonna see more people, more comments, more demands. You're gonna see it's gonna be less and less about basketball, what you want to see, and it's gonna be a whole lot of this stuff, because it's like she ripped off another layer of the onion, and this one is a big one. And so now people feel like they can just go all in.
Exactly. Sheila's opposition to Caitlin Clark seems rooted in the fact that, like many so-called woke figures, she's recognized that Clark isn't playing by the usual political playbook. Instead of bending to certain narratives or pushing an agenda, Clark is simply focused on earning her success through talent. And that's something that doesn't sit well with people who expect athletes to follow their scripted roles.
But this, of course, is the Mystics owner that said that Caitlin Clark should give up her Time magazine award and give it to the entire WNBA. Of course, that has now become a running joke, and the mother of all community checks came down here and nailed her. 31% of Mystics' total home attendance for the 2024 season came from the 2 games versus Caitlin Clark and the Fever.
Newsflash, Sheila, sports thrive on competition, not on the equality of outcome. Claiming that Caitlin Clark doesn't deserve to be singled out is like saying LeBron James should share his accolades with the benchwarmers just because of team effort. That's not how greatness works. Individual brilliance deserves recognition, and Clark has earned every bit of it.
It's important that we say, you know what? You want to go all in? You want to go in, people with a lot of nonsense? Then guess what? We're going to go in too, and we're going to expose the nonsense.
Exactly. A lot of these racist attitudes flourish when there's no pushback or challenge. That's why speaking out isn't just an option, it's a responsibility. If we stay silent, we're allowing these harmful views to persist unchecked. It's crucial to stand up and call out hypocrisy when we see it.
What it is. A lot of times, like you, we're just like, we just want to let's just play basketball. But then when they start saying nonsense, like when the owner of a WNBA team, Sheila Johnson, Washington Mystics, when she says some of the stuff like she said that people are talking about today, it's like, okay, you want to play hardball? Then let's play.
Absolutely. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a mythical juggernaut and a cultural icon. She's rewriting the rules of the game, and her numbers prove it. She's not just good, she's the best. And anyone who tries to deny that is ignoring the undeniable facts.
It's that time. Call this.
You guys, everyone wants me to cry today. No way.
Have you ever witnessed a basketball star tear up over someone else's triumph? Well, A'ja Wilson just did. The WNBA champion was seen in tears, but not for the reasons you'd expect. It's all in response to Caitlin Clark's emotional jersey retirement announcement.
I was like in tears, y'all.
You might be asking, what's all the fuss about? Don't players have their jerseys retired all the time? Well, not like this. Caitlin Clark's retirement ceremony is already setting records before it's even happened. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson's fans are crying foul, suggesting Iowa orchestrated this to steal the spotlight. But what spotlight? Iowa likely didn't even know when South Carolina planned Wilson's ceremony, especially since she graduated nearly a decade ago. We've got the facts, the timeline, and fan reactions that tell a different story. Let's break down why Wilson's tears are flowing and how Clark is once again changing the game for women's basketball. February 2nd, 2025. Don't forget that date, because it's about to become legendary in women's basketball. 2 players, 2 jersey retirements, but only one is stealing the spotlight like a supernova. Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson, both revolutionizing women's basketball in their own ways, are set to have their jerseys retired on the same day. But that's where the comparison ends. Clark's ceremony at Iowa is generating a buzz that's completely overshadowing Wilson's South Carolina event.
Iowa taking on USC and Juju Watkins, nationally televised game, I believe. February 2nd, 2-2, so it's 22. Everything about it lines up.
Let's talk numbers because they're crazy. The cheapest ticket to see Clark's jersey rise to the rafters is over $700, which is the most expensive ticket in women's basketball history. For some perspective, this price tag is even steeper than the cheapest ticket to an NBA Finals game. And if you're aiming for the best seats in the house, you'd better have a thick wallet, with tickets going for over $8,000. Meanwhile, you can catch a seat at Wilson's ceremony for just $25. No, that's not a typo. We're talking about a price difference more than 28 times higher for Clark's event.
But that is a supply and demand thing, especially in today's day and age where there's no such thing as a sellout, right? Where you can go to any event you want as long as you're willing to pay for it because of the secondary ticket market.
Social media is blowing up with reactions. This isn't just about ticket prices. It's a game-changing moment for women's basketball. The demand we're seeing now was unimaginable just a few years ago. Clark's final home game shattered records with tickets reaching $450. But now that feels like pocket change compared to her retirement ceremony. What's unfolding here is Clark reshaping the entire landscape of women's basketball. She's not just rewriting the record books on the court, she's breaking barriers off it. Clark has become a cultural icon, drawing in fans who might have never tuned into a women's basketball game before.
I'm leading scorer in women's college basketball.
But wait, there's more. This story is far from over. What does Wilson and her team have to say about this, you may ask?
One of the sentiments that was expressed was, oh, it's the same day as A'ja Wilson's, how could you do? First of all, I remember them announcing A'ja Wilson was getting her jersey retired, but I didn't remember the date or anything. When the Clark news broke, I didn't think about A'ja Wilson. And again, as is the case with Caitlin Clark, this only is going to bring more attention to A'ja Wilson's jersey retirement.
As ticket prices for Clark's ceremony soared, another kind of inflation was taking over: online outrage. A'ja Wilson's fans aren't just upset, they're convinced a conspiracy is at play. But what if the real story is even more explosive than they think? The social media storm ignited with Wilson's supporters crying foul over the timing of Clark's jersey retirement. One fan didn't hold back, tweeting, "Why would y'all retire her jersey on the same day as A'ja Wilson? Are y'all stupid?" This sentiment echoed across social media, with Wilson's fan base feeling like their star was being overshadowed by the Clark phenomenon. But here's where it gets interesting. The timeline of these announcements tells a different story. Iowa didn't just pull Clark's jersey retirement out of thin air. They revealed their plans back on April 11th, 2024, right after the NCAA championship game.
And yes, Clark did get a standing ovation when Iowa's athletics director announced that the university will retire her number 22
that
jersey.
That number holds a lot of weight, far beyond my name, and I guess I'm just really grateful, and it'll be a special day when that happens for sure. Thank you. It's been very special, and this place will always be home to me.
South Carolina didn't unveil their plans for Wilson's jersey retirement until October 2024. 6 months later, folks. Wilson's fans are saying they're not Clark fans, so why should they care about Iowa stealing the spotlight with their announcement? Why can't both players be honored on the same day?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with two schools retiring respective jerseys on the same day. But secondly, if you wanted the focus to be on A'ja Wilson, she'll probably get more attention as the second, most recognized jersey retirement of that day than she would have if she had the stage all to herself on that.
So why are Wilson's fans so certain that Iowa is trying to steal South Carolina's thunder? It all boils down to the meteoric rise of Clark's popularity. Iowa's athletic director, Beth Gutz, put it bluntly, Clark's accomplishments have made a lasting impact on the university and on women's basketball. They weren't responding to Wilson's announcement. They were celebrating their own superstar. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why did it take South Carolina so long to honor Wilson? One fan pointed out the obvious. Why did it take a decade for South Carolina to retire A'ja's number? How is that Iowa's problem? It's a fair question. Wilson graduated in 2018, yet it's taken until 2025 for her alma mater to retire her jersey. That's not on Iowa, that's on South Carolina.
And South Carolina waited years and years to retire A'ja's jersey.
The conspiracy theories are running wild, with some of Wilson's supporters convinced that Iowa deliberately picked this date to overshadow A'ja's moment. But let's think this through. Iowa chose a date that aligns with a high-profile game against USC, featuring rising star Juju Watkins, which was already set to be nationally televised. Plus, Clark's jersey has been hanging in Carver Hawkeye Arena for months. Everyone knew it was coming. How could Iowa possibly know when A'ja's retirement ceremony was planned? No one even knew about it until Clark made her announcement. This isn't about stealing anyone's spotlight. It's about maximizing exposure for women's basketball as a whole.
And then there was, Iowa is rushing this. They're rushing, or everything is rushed with Caitlin Clark. No, she just did things faster and garnered more attention and more notoriety and celebrity and celebration and popularity.
Here's what's hilarious. Some fans are actually asking for Wilson to move her date. One tweet put it bluntly, "Tell A'ja to move her date." Then the face of the WNBA is retiring hers. Show some respect. It's a stark reminder of how quickly the landscape of women's basketball is evolving. So what's really happening here? Is this about disrespect? Or is it simply a changing of the guard in women's basketball? The facts don't back up the conspiracy theories. Iowa's plans were in place long before Wilson's announcement, and they're just capitalizing on Clark's massive popularity. But here's the twist. There might be more to A'ja's reaction than just the jersey retirement itself. Is this truly about the ceremony, or could it be a deeper feeling of jealousy?
A'ja Wilson 1, Nafisa Collier 2, Sabrina Ionescu 3, Brianna Stewart 4, Alyssa Thomas 5, and honorable mentions, Caitlin Clark.
Did you catch the latest WNBA bombshell? Caitlin Clark, The rookie powerhouse, who's been dominating the courts and shattering records all season, has been shockingly left out of the top MVP conversation. But here's where it gets even more explosive. A'ja Wilson, the current MVP, is furious. Why? Because fans and analysts are increasingly saying that Clark's incredible performance deserves the MVP title more than her. How did Clark, with her standout stats and game-changing impact, get sidelined like this? The controversy is igniting intense debates across the basketball community.
She is leading the WNBA in points generated, which means points scored and or points assisted on. She is leading the league by a significant margin, and she is doing this as a rookie with a Fever team that is not comprised of a bunch of all-stars.
Let's dive into the MVP rankings that are making big waves in the WNBA. Leading the pack is A'ja Wilson, confidently holding the top spot.
There's no debating it. If you even talk about MVP, you have to be like, well, of course A'ja Wilson's running away with it. Like, you cannot even have any kind of constructive conversation around MVP unless you preface it by saying, well, I already know that A'ja Wilson won. Like, that's the standard.
Coming in hot at number 2 is Napheesa Collier from the Minnesota Lynx. Every time she steps onto the court, she takes full command of the game, leaving a massive impact on both her team and the opposition. Quiet yet lethal, Collier consistently asserts her dominance, making it impossible to ignore her formidable presence.
And Napheesa can take over the game at any point in time. We've seen her do this on multiple occasions.
Sabrina Ionescu is stubbornly holding on to the 3rd spot, even though some argue she doesn't quite deserve it. Behind her, Breanna Stewart and Alyssa Thomas secure their places in the top 5. But here's the real surprise. Where is Caitlin Clark? The rookie sensation who's been setting the league ablaze with her incredible performances is completely absent from the top 5. Unbelievable, right?
Getting to the honorable mention, they have Caitlin Clark.
You might think there's been a mix-up, but nope, that's exactly how the MVP rankings stand today. Their website even spotlighted Caitlin Clark with this statement.
While the Fever underwent understandable woes in the first month of the season, Indiana is 14-6 over their last 20 games, including 2 massive wins coming out of the All-Star break. Clark has found a synergy with her teammates and elite comfort on the floor as a facilitator and creator. She's knocking on the door of first-team All-W and top 5 finish in MVP voting.
Did you hear that? Caitlin Clark is just knocking on the MVP door? Not quite. Clark isn't merely knocking, she should already have a seat at the top. In fact, Caitlin Clark undeniably deserves a spot in the top 3 MVP contenders alongside A'ja Wilson and Napheesa Collier, and the numbers leave no room for doubt.
Look at their stats. A'ja wipes the floor with both of them. The only categories that she doesn't have are assists, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. Caitlin has all of those. She is tied for steals with Napheesa.
Let's be honest, A'ja Wilson was outstanding, no doubt. But rookie Caitlin Clark has outshined her in crucial areas like assists, free throw percentages, and 3-pointers, even setting the assist record. Clark's on-court impact is undeniable, proving she's anything but average. So why is she being overlooked? It's got everyone puzzled. Some say it's because she's a rookie and the league prefers established stars. Others argue that individual stats don't capture the whole picture. This snub hasn't gone unnoticed. The debate is heating up, with voices like Rachel Demita criticizing the WNBA's MVP selection process. Demita points out that every time Clark elevates her game, the bar for her recognition keeps rising, making it harder for her to secure the MVP title she clearly deserves. Historically, only one rookie, Candace Parker in 2008, has ever won the MVP award. It feels like there's an unwritten rule against first-year players being the most valuable. But why? Are rookies seen as too inexperienced, or is there a bias towards veterans? Clark is challenging this by excelling not just as a rookie, but across multiple facets of the game. As Skip Bayless put it, nobody in the league can flick logo threes as effortlessly as Caitlin can. Clark is now pushing A'ja Wilson for the MVP crown with her exceptional ability to control the game. While Wilson has secured back-to-back championships with a star-studded team, Clark is transforming the Indiana Fever. Before the All-Star break, the Fever were struggling with a 13-27 record. After the break, they flipped the script with a 14-6 run, thanks to Clark's leadership and stellar performances. She's not just scoring, she's elevating her entire team, leading them to the playoffs for the first time since 2016. When comparing Clark to Candace Parker, Clark is already surpassing Parker's rookie stats in assists, steals, three-pointers, and free throw percentage. Her all-around game is setting new standards, proving she's a game changer. Her impact on the Fever is clear, turning a struggling team into one of the league's hottest. Meanwhile, A'ja Wilson shines on a team loaded with Team USA players and multiple All-Stars, making her achievements impressive but also supported by a strong roster. In contrast, Clark excels without the same level of star support, highlighting her individual value. The MVP debate in the WNBA is intensifying. Should the award go to the player with the best stats, the one who drives their team's success, or the one who's revolutionizing the game? Clark's season is forcing us to rethink traditional MVP criteria, blending individual excellence with transformative team impact. Caitlin Clark's rise is more than a rookie story, it's a revolution in the WNBA. As she continues to dominate and elevate her team, the question remains, is it time to break down old barriers and recognize the true value players like Clark bring to the league? The MVP conversation isn't over, and Clark is right at the center, challenging us to redefine what it means to be the most valuable player. What do you think? Should the MVP go to the player with the best stats, the one who boosts their team's success, or the one who's redefining the game?